The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
Mastering Local Marketing, episode 56. It's a continuation of the previous episode where we're talking about 8 marketing mistakes that people keep repeating. He's Matt Hansen. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. Let's get to this.
Let's get right to it. In the first one, we talked about 3 of the marketing mistakes that people kind of do over and spraying no strategy, kind of not paying attention to your website, over-reliance on boosted posts. We're going to start out with number 4 right now, and that goes straight into one of my favorites, is what are people actually looking at, and what metrics are you looking at with your website, with your social media? And a lot of times it's just vanity metrics, how many likes you get. Oh, look, I got so many 3-second views. My favorite is customer acquisition cost. What's your CAC on that? Really? And that is pretty standard. A lot of people just like likes.
Likes, views. Your staff out there was talking about your open rate on your last email that you sent out, and I said it's irrelevant. So, it's one of those things that it's great, except the Apple system will actually...
Everything's an open.
Yeah, everything's an open, right? So, no, people focus on likes and views and all this other stuff.
And open rate.
Yeah, and open rate, right, for your email. But, does that really matter? I mean, does a like make people walk through your door? Does a like make somebody call you on the phone? It's great that somebody took the time to say, hey, that's some really cool content.
And you don't know where they are.
Right. You have no idea. I mean, they could be in Spain for all you know, right? So we have to look at metrics that matter. I was on another podcast yesterday being interviewed for it, and they asked me
What was that name of that podcast?
It was You, Me, and the Flea. It was Christina from the Swaparama Flea Market.
You, Me, and the Flea.
You, Me, and the Flea. So she was asking me about, metrics that everyone should kind of follow. And we went back to kind of the number of people that walk in, the number of orders, and the average order ticket. But it's kind of the same thing here, right? Like likes and views aren't going to pay the bills unless you're, a major influencer and they're paying you. And quite honestly, you're not getting that much money from any of the social platforms anyway. But what we're saying here is you got customer acquisition costs, lifetime value, those types of things are more important to you because they allow you to understand money that's coming in the door. It allows you to understand if I'm spending $10 to get a customer and my average order is $100 or $50 or whatever it may be, I'm making money off of that, right? If I'm posting something out there and I'm likes and views and all this other stuff and comments, yeah, it's great, but I can do that without having a shop, right? I could do that without having a business. I can post content online and people will like it and share it and all that. That's fine. But can you tie it back to dollars, to cents, to, keeping yourself in business? One of my most favorite campaigns that we ever did, we used to have this social tool that you could share an offer with somebody and then they could share it with others and then they could share it with others. And it was this kind of umbrella system that we could tie back and understand that if I sent it to you and you shared it with 5 people and they shared it with 5 people, I could actually tie all of that revenue dollars back to you, the initial email that I sent or the initial social post that I put out there. So that's what we're talking about, is how valuable that one customer is to you. If you're dealing with, we've talked about troubled customers in the past, the ones that take up all your time and effort and, don't spend any money with you. Understand numbers that make sense, numbers that keep you in business, right? Yes, likes, follows, all that, great. But I need to know, I want to track things that matter. So again, going back to the podcast that I was on yesterday, Number of people that walk in your door. Why is that important? Well, number of people that walk in my door, let's say it's 30 a day. If it goes to 35, and all my other numbers stay the same, right? Number of people walk in, number of orders I get per day, average order value. If that just bumps that up a little bit, my numbers are going to rise across the board. If my average order value goes up by $5, again, my revenues go up across the board. The number of people that buy from me in my store, or the number of people that buy from me on the phone, goes up by 5%. So do my revenues, right? So it's like, but if your follows, your likes on your post go up 5%, does that transition to additional revenue? Probably not. So that's what we're saying. Like, identify numbers, track things that are relevant to growing your business. Do it that way, right? Focus on those. Likes and follows will come.
Vanity metrics, they call that. And likes is certainly one of them. And one of the other things you have as a business, you have a lot of data. Yeah. You don't realize that you have. And I think that especially people that are just all in operations and I got to do my business, every once in a while just sit back and say, well, what kind of data do I have? One of them is emails. You've got emails. You've got a lot of people have just home addresses, right? And there's a variety of things you could do. Like, I talk to people all the time that have an email list and they don't use it. And I go, why don't we use it? Well, we don't know what to send. We don't know what to do. We don't have a strategy. And I go back to it again. We talk about the post method in the last episode. But, what is it that people want to get from you? Are they looking for information? Are they looking for product? Are they looking for services? What is it that you can provide a value? And you have all these emails that are just sitting there and you're not utilizing them. It's the same thing with addresses, right? So maybe you do a postcard, a mailer just to your customers. You do an open house, right? A party, some event. Do you realize the amount of data that is right there? Just take that, overlay that on a map, and understand where your customers are coming from. Again, had the same conversation with a client yesterday. They're like, well, our clients are kind of everywhere. And I said, are they? I said, take the data, let's put it on a map and let's see. And what you're going to notice is in that 20-minute radius around you, that's where your customers lie. And it might even be in a specific neighborhood if they're word of mouthing it very much in that. Without a doubt. So something as simple as your mailing list can provide you with data that can transition. You can say, okay, well, I notice we are heavy in these towns or these neighborhoods or whatever. You can literally take that information, look at it visually, and then start to do digital advertising, even more direct mail to those neighborhoods, or get out there on your own 2 feet and start talking to people in those areas, right? So you're out, that's where your customer base is. A simple tool is just looking at that data, dropping it on a map and going, oh, I didn't know that's where my customers were. We talk about this a lot about, looking at what your competitor is doing. And quite frankly, if you have something that's in another market, you can look at other competitors in other markets. How can we do that? So we're talking about mistakes that we make. And let me take this back to, we live in the Midwest. And back, I would say 10, 15 years ago, every new house they built was beige. Right? Every single house had this beige tan siding on it. They just changed sand, Navajo, whatever you wanted to call it. Right. It was still just a variation of beige. Right. You had these cookie cutter houses over and over and over. The shape changed, but the color stayed the same and whatever. That's exactly what we're doing when we go out there and we copy our competitors. So now we've just created this beige neighborhood of ads and information that is out there, and nobody is standing out. And what we found in relating that back is now we're starting to see all kinds of drastic differences in houses, from metal materials to wood accents to different colors, and I mean all over the place. And
I think we quickly realized we got into a lull. And what we're doing with competitors is we're going out there and we're looking and we're like, oh, I love what they're doing. We should do that too. And what you're doing is basically saying, hey, they do a really good job, so we want to be like you. And now everyone is doing this exact same thing and nothing is standing out. So be careful with that. But on the flip side of that, what I always say is go out there and find things that you absolutely do like that your competitors are doing or other businesses are doing, and ask yourself, how can I make this different? Right? What is it that I can do differently? And, my students at the university, we used to do this major competition every year. And I would say, go out there and find 3 campaigns that you absolutely love. So they would go and they'd find 3. And I'd say, okay, great. Let's shelve those for a moment. Let's build our strategy, right? We went through understanding who our target audience was and all this other stuff. We built our strategy and I said, okay, how can we take the bits and pieces from those campaigns that you love and integrate them into a new campaign? So we're not copying, we're taking 1 or 2 pieces from each one of them and building our own. And they used to come up with some of the coolest campaigns based off of that. And I think that's where most people don't take it to the next step. They're like, oh, I love what they're doing here, let's copy it. And really at that point, then there's no difference, right? So you've got to have a difference. You got to do it better. You've got to take pieces. Don't take it all, but use your competitors as a way to get inspired by things they're doing. But how do you do it better? How do you add new things to it? How do you change it up? Try that, and you'll be much better.
We go back to the beginning of 8 repeatable marketing mistakes that people are making. And it kind of goes back to the beginning, is that people actually just don't have a strategy.
Right.
And if you don't have a strategy and you're like, well, let's try this, let's try that. I mean, I'm all for trying new things. But if you're going to just try something and go one and done, and you don't have any idea of what would be behind that, that's a problem.
Right.
How do you avoid that?
I would say 80% of small businesses do this on a
one and done
regular basis. I tried it, didn't work. Right? And you're going, whoa. What did you try? Well, I did TikTok ads. Didn't work. Well, why didn't they work? I don't know. It just didn't work. Right? And that's the conversation I have. And really what I ask is, okay, again, what were you promoting? Is it an awareness campaign? Are you trying to sell something? Who's your target audience? Are we in the right spot? What was your budget? Right? And they're like, oh, I spent $20. It didn't work. I mean, give the system a little bit of time to learn. I mean, every one of these systems takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out who's going to be clicking on your ads. I mean, that's how they're built. So give it time. I think Gary Vee says it best, and I'm going to give him credit for it 100%. He basically says, take $100 per month for an entire year, and you will become a local celebrity. Just put it out there, $100 every single month, and just let it run. And really what it means is you live in such a small little area, and by putting yourself out there at $100 per month, it's not a ton, right? It's $1,200 a year. Okay, I get that. But it's consistent. It's not, I wasn't on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, last week, so I didn't see your ad. It's constant. Over and over and over. And with doing that, that's how you get the awareness up. That's how people start to recognize you. That's how people see it over and over, and they realize, wow, this person is doing some fabulous work. I see them everywhere. I've seen them consistently for 6 months. That really is what you need to be doing. The one and dones, you'll never get success doing that.
So when you're putting these strategies together and you're like, all right, well, I have an idea what I want to do. I have an idea what I want to do, especially with social media and email, even direct mail. A lot of people did you realize that there is more direct mail now than in any time in history? Mm-hmm. I did not know that. I was in a marketing meeting with someone yesterday, and he uses a lot of direct mail, and I'm like, why? He goes, oh, it's still once you just got to get into people's houses,
yeah,
and that's how you do. But you want to get in the right houses,
right?
You don't want to just blitz. If whatever your service or your product is, there is a set avatar. There's a set person that you want to go for. And a lot of times you could see that people are going for that person, but they're really hitting the wrong market. Right. And explain how that unfolds.
Yeah, they just don't understand who they're sending information to, right? So you're just kind of blanketing an area. Again, it's a shotgun approach where you didn't plan it out. You don't understand the audience that you're going after. It's really vague. You look at yourself versus your neighbor. There's some similarities there, but there's also some drastic differences, right? So when I look at my neighborhood, across the street from me is a single guy. His older father lived with him for a while, and his college-age son lives with him. That's one customer across the street. Next door to me is a stay-at-home mom. Dad works all the time. Kids are always helping around the house. Okay. Now we've got two drastically different people right there, two different households. Behind me is a painter. They have a smaller, actually she's in middle school at this point, married a second time, right? So like you have all these dynamics around us. And then on the other side of me is a single union guy who's never home, right? So very drastic, but what we're saying is on direct mail or something like that, people are blanketing a neighborhood because they see it as a house value or something like that. But they're not understanding that each one of these houses have very different makeups, right? So the guy across the street that's the single guy that's never home should be getting some kind of different message than the family next to me with the kids and the stay-at-home mom. Like that is drastically different. But yet from a marketing standpoint, too many people just blanket a neighborhood and they're like, oh well, these are households with X number of income and they have kids. It doesn't work that way. So you've got to dive into the data a little bit more. And I think I get it that's time consuming, but there are resources out there to allow you to dive into that a little bit more and understand that just because they're in a neighborhood doesn't mean that they're all the same people. Although in my neighborhood, I feel like they all went to high school together because we're right over the border in Indiana, so all the Illinois people came over. But so there are some similarities there. But again, drastically different makeups, but we're all targeting in the exact same way.
He is Matt Hansen. This is, I gotta say it again. This plays on radio and TV also, so sometimes people get it. But if you're listening or watching the podcast, you know that we are mastering local marketing, and he's a professor, and I'm just a local businessman, and I make all these mistakes. But you also, at the end, I mean, if we could just review 8 of the repeatable mistakes, then you got to go across 2 episodes. Of course, one of them is basically not having a strategy, and you're just spraying and praying. Then 2, you're not really paying attention to your website. You're ignoring those fundamentals. Certainly my favorite here is over-reliance on boosted posts. You see that. And then vanity metrics. Oh, I got so many likes. Oh, I got so many views. What's that mean for your business? I don't know, but I did get a lot of likes. And then, you have a lot of data with your business. Use it. Emails, home addresses, reviews, all that stuff comes in, and you got to look at it. And then when you're looking at your competitors out there, don't just copy it with no changes or improving it or whatever. Certainly, we've talked many times on this podcast about looking at your competitors, and if that's working, give it a shot or look at it, but you can't just completely copy and paste it. And then the one and done campaign certainly goes back to not really having a strategy or just spraying and praying almost there. And then you got to match whatever offer you're going to put out there, make sure it's going to the right people. Why put out these 8 marketing mistakes? I mean, what is it you want the small and medium-sized marketer to get out of these past 2 episodes?
I've been doing this for 25 years, and I hear it every single week. So what I'm saying is you're not alone. Everyone's making these mistakes. I'm only one person. I'm trying to help you. But what I'm trying to say is we're putting a spotlight on this. So there's 8 of them. Don't tackle all 8 at once, right? Tackle 1 at a time and just literally say, okay, I'm going to stop making this mistake this year. Put some effort into it and realize that you're making these mistakes. And it's fine. We're all doing it. I'm guilty of making these mistakes in the past as well, right? So I did an audio campaign a while back, and I let it run for a couple days, and I went, I don't like what I've done here. I need a better strategy. And really, it wasn't generating the right results. So I'm still making those mistakes as well, but I see them faster. So I stopped it. I said, okay, I've got to go back. I've got to fix this. It's not as thorough as I wanted it to be. Let me do some more planning on it. So even I make these mistakes. Everyone, it's fine. But what I'm saying here is after 25 years, I've had these, it's Thursday. This week I've had 3 conversations with these already. I see them every week. Just know that they're out there and just start working toward improving on it. That's all I'm looking for here.
Mastering Local Marketing. That was episode 56. Until next time, we'll see you later.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.